Clock says 4:30. Meeting will come to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Bunting.
Here.
Commissioner Gay.
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy.
Here.
Commissioner Owen.
Here. George, we get you to.
Go ahead, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day that you've given us and the blessings in it. We just pray, Father, for our servicemen and women overseas and at home. Pray for their safety. We ask, Father, continued prayers for our first responders, Father. They would keep them sharp of mind, keep them safe, and that they could do the work that we came to appreciate in this community. We ask, Father, now that you'd also bless the farmers. They've had a rain delay, but they're all getting ready to go, and we just pray that it will be a safe planting season and a good harvest. We ask, Father, you be with us through the rest of this meeting, and then we would do the best that we can in your name. Which in the name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guess we have some additions to the agenda.
Yeah, so if we could add J14, consideration to a resolution 26-423 to amend the language in the special millage question for renewal and restoration of funding the Gratiot County Commission on Aging. So there's been a little bit of change in the language for the proposal.
What was that number again?
23. And then I think the other items can just be added as they come up.
Okay. Any public comment? Matt?
I have a brief public comment. I just wanted to introduce you all to our new IT support specialist, Joey Sinclair. He started a week ago Monday, so he's pretty fresh with us, but he's doing a great job so far. Fine job.
Oh, we weren't gonna let him go without having him stand up, so. Welcome, Joey.
Welcome.
We get a motion in a second. Agenda.
Yes, man. I wondered why you had a seat up front. I was like, man.
I'll move the agenda that's presented.
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Tim, for support the agenda. All those in favor, say aye. Carried. Oh, we're supposed to do that first.
That's all right.
Consideration of the consent calendar.
What is the consent calendar is presented?
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Tim to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Administrators report.
Well, for once, other than what's on your agenda, I don't have anything else to report. It's a relief to many.
Steve?
Biggest thing is the tornadoes that came through the county last week, affected the tornadoes and high winds primarily affected my district. So was busy with that. You were down there with me on Friday. The sheriff was out Sunday, along with our prosecutor and our EM and the manager, but your department was probably the busiest because you guys were getting all the phone calls and sending out all the alerts when it was happening. Thank you. You know, you get in a week like this in Gratiot County, you get tornadoes are happening and new people are running around Elma. So that's like, where else do you get that? You know what I mean? When my mom called me to complain about it, I said, Mom, where else can you get that kind of entertainment in the same week? So anyhow, significant damage. I was at the North Shade Township meeting last night. It was awesome to see community come together as I was driving to the meeting last night. Just west of the Fulton High School. So just as you're leaving Fulton Township coming into North Shade, there was approximately 50 members of the Mennonite community on the north side of the road, hand walking like shoulder to shoulder across these farm fields, piling everything. And then there was guys running around with side-by-sides with trailers picking it up. And then as you got to Pendle Road, on the south side of 57, there was probably 30 more people walking, doing the exact same thing. And Dave was down there, that you could tell something devastating had happened. I mean, it was just planks and steel and things just strewn all over. So, I mean, it was cool to see our community come together like that to, make sure that when weather is right, these guys can go out and farm and take care of what they need to do. That was really cool for me to see that as I drove through there last night. But I think everybody is pretty resilient people down there, and they are doing well. Other meetings that I've been to, let's see. I went to Newark and New Haven meeting on the 13th. The 14th, I went to Elba. That was their very first meeting in their new hall. It's not completely finished yet, but they had their first meeting there. Very, very much an improvement over the old one. I mean, you're sitting on matching chairs even. It's, the floor is all even. It's nice. It's going to be very, very, very nice. I think we'll plan to have an open house like some of the other townships have had once the thing is complete, but because they had to move all their electronics down there, they moved everything down there. So, the 15th, there wasn't anything super pressing on the, Parks and Rec, and I had a death in the family. My uncle had passed away, so I had to go to his funeral services, so I missed that meeting. Well, the 16th, I was at Washington Township. We've talked about the building that sits too close to 57. Their zoning appeals board approved their special use permit, so they're going to be able to use it. They did put one stipulation in there that for parking, that they park behind it so that they're not even putting people closer to the road. So that was a good thing. And then last night's meeting, but other than that, the big thing in my area was all the damage that happened. There was a barn that lost its roof. Dave ended up there. I mean, I'm confident that had to be some form of a tornado because the houses on either side of it had nothing wrong with them. And all of a sudden you have a house with a hole ripped in the roof, the window smashed out of their house, and literally half of the pole barn is gone. But I don't think the National Weather Service officially said that that's a tornado yet, but the way the steel is wrapped into the trees, and their canoe ended up coming out of their yard and ending up out in the state land. They had to find it floating in a pond in the state land with no damage to it. It certainly didn't blow out there, like the tradition.
That's F1.
Not the one that happened in Washington Township, though.
Oh, Washington, sorry.
Yeah, oh yeah, the others in F1, yeah, for sure. The one that came down from Montcalm was definitely. Something happened there that wasn't straight line winds. So anyhow, so that took up a lot of my time. And I went on an awesome tour in this building on Friday morning. Thanks to all the staff. They did a fantastic job. I was honored enough to be a chaperone with the fifth grade Ithaca North Elementary class. My daughter's a teacher there, and she asked me if I would come to the tour, and it was awesome. We got to tour the building, and it was a really good day. And then I got locked in the back of a patrol car with Dave after that, so I must have done something wrong. I did come to the sheriff's thing, so maybe he aligned that. I don't know.
Jen?
Okay, I just had one meeting at Bethany Township. It was a quick meeting, and they're getting ready to, they're putting up the solar panels. It's going quite well, and I believe they're gonna have the batteries there also. And so, just kind of a quiet time. I do have another meeting, which was supposed to be this week, and then it was next week, and now it's into May. We have about 30 people that sit on that board. and trying to get us all together on one time. This is the first time I've been on that board for years. I think it's the first time we can't seem to find a time and a day that all of us can be there at one time. So other than that, that's all I've done.
George?
On the eighth, we had an airport advisory committee meeting. We'll talk a little more about that when Dennis has his report. On the 13th, I went to Hamilton Township and to North Star Township. Normal course of business there. I just like their hall. It's just a nice hall. Nice place. And then on the 14th, I went to Commission on Aging in the morning and then attended Lafayette Township meeting and then also Wheeler Township meeting. Lafayette Township's honing in on their, in fact, they picked a contractor for their new township hall. I can't tell you that because I didn't write it down and I don't remember the name, but they picked one anyway. And then I went to Wheeler Township and we're still talking about the Beacon and Bridge building over there. Maybe there'll be some action by the end of the month or not, but I hope so. And then on the 15th, let's see, what did I do? Oh, I know that was just my day. I had the labs that day. And then on the I guess that was it. Yep. Oh, on the 10th, I forgot the 10th. I knew it was something I forgot. I went to the Slipper meeting over in St. Louis to learn a little bit more about transportation.
Jim?
Wow. On April 8th, I went to the Arcata Township meeting. There's the price of postage stamps. I know we're electronic culture now, but I guess they're going up. I don't really know the price of a stamp. So they're gonna buy a lot now before it goes up. I guess they're probably forever stamps.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
How much is going up?
They have a trash day coming up, and I didn't write it down. I think it's in May at the fairgrounds. Many people there was concerned about a young man shooting firearms indiscriminately. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Prosecutor denied charges.
There's charges.
There was, but
There
they
was.
denied them.
Okay, and there was a concern about us tabling the planning commission during the last meeting, but I see it's coming up again, so.
The master plan.
The master plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the table it again just for fun.
The planning commission is, they take issues in, before we get them. What's the master plan? Is that a different one?
Well, that 250-page document that they sent you the link to,
Yeah.
that's the master plan.
I have a paper copy.
Yeah, you got a
It's gonna
paper.
take a while to read all of it.
It takes a while to read it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
hopefully, this resolution will pass and they won't yell at me again. So.
I don't think they'll yell at you after tonight. We'll be all set.
Oh, but I had a mental health meeting, April 9th. The guy gave a financial report about 2025. He was from Roseland Prestige. They do my taxes too. And there was a discussion about having the a new mental health building. They meet at the old Wright Avenue building, which is a, old building. It might be older than me. I don't know. But they want to get a newer.
It's still standing. Son of a
Well,
gun.
yeah, that's where we meet.
Tim, how much is the stamps going up?
I don't know. I don't even know the price of a current stamp.
It was $1, but I haven't
Yeah,
got
it's not $1. It's 90 something.
90 something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, well, I have a Pine River meeting tonight if Dave and Terry don't talk too long, but that's all I have.
Went from 78 to 82, just for the record.
72 to what?
78 to 82.
All right, look that up.
12.
Yeah,
Four cents.
I'm gonna get some of those forever stamps.
Okay, that's it for the committee reports. Consideration of new business. First off, consideration to approve resolution 26-421. To approve the Gratiot countywide master plan.
There you go, Tim.
I was just gonna say, you want the honors?
Want the honors? Read the resolution.
Tim, did you get a chance to review it? Okay, I reviewed it again, and in fact, I talked to Casey last night about it.
I can just read what it says here. Consideration to approve resolution 26-421, 2026, Gratiot countywide master plan.
Need a second.
Support that.
I support, or I move the resolution.
Tim made the motion, George seconded to approve resolution number 26-421, the Gratiot countywide master plan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. 9/11 update, Dave.
I brought my own handout for y'all. I don't have enough for everybody, but I think I can. Just have favorites.
You're gonna make it. I've got one to use.
PowerPoint?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a PowerPoint with the slide notes. That's all it is. So, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to come in. I thought it was time to come in and give another update, a little bit on 911 and where we're at, and kind of, it just happens to be 911 Education Month, and National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week was last week that we celebrated. So I thought I'd start off with a little bit of history of 911 and then go from there. So hopefully. There we go. So before 911 existed, of course, we all know that we dialed a 10-digit number or 0 for the operator, or however, we rang a bell out in the street way back in the days to summon help, 7-digit numbers to get the police, medical, fire services. It was also caused confusion, delays. Not sure how it caused confusion because other than there were different numbers for different services, different number for police, different number for fire, different number for EMS or medical. And the inconsistencies in responses. So, and then also for travelers coming through your areas, they didn't know the numbers because they didn't live there. So they decided in 1957, the fire chiefs led a charge to formally adopt a number that would be easy for everybody to know and use no matter where they are. And in 67, with the Presidential Commission, they came up with the idea and the birth of 911. The reason they used 911 is, one, it was never an area code anywhere, and it was never a 3-digit prefix used anywhere. So since it was never used either of those places and it was easy to dial, sort of, the 9 was 9 and then the 1 and the 1 on the old dial phones. Okay, it was easier to do than trying to put in 7 numbers to call. So 1968, April 16th, 1968, little town called Haleyville, Alabama. I actually visited Haleyville, Alabama. Was the site of the first 911 call made in the United States. The 2 gentlemen up at the top there, Alabama rank and fight, who was a congressman, and Tom Bevel, who was a senator. They were in the hall, the mayor's office, and they called 911 and got each other. That little red phone is actually still there today. The site, you see there's a little plaque there, is now a CVS, I think, across from the Piggly Wiggly. that's in town. And everything's moved over into the police station, but that was the first development of 911 and the first call, and from there, it bursted out and expanded across the United States. After its induction in the 70s, it went to the major cities, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Miami, Los Angeles. Bigger areas where there was some infrastructure and where it could be actually put into play. And then as the 80s went along, it filtered out into the other areas in the states and the cities, and came to a point where it was used widely across the United States. The first use would provide dispatchers with the following information. We would get what they call ANI, automatic number identification, so it would give us your phone number, and ALI, automatic location identification, which gives us your address. All that information came to us because you had a landline phone and it came from your phone record. So all that information went into a central station. When you dialed 911, it did all these little clicks in the back and it came and routed you to the right place. So through the 70s, 80s, early 90s, until the invention of the cell phone came along. When the invention of the cell phone came along, it was time to move forward. The FCC had decided to start implementing some rules for us and required what we called phase 1 and phase 2 of your cell phones. Anybody that still has a phase 1 would be a flip phone, which generally don't work anymore because they're not GPS enabled. And they're not used for the system. Phase 2 are now cell phones that are GPS enabled. They bounce off towers. It can actually give you a medium radius of about 30 feet of your actual location. And it allows us to accurately find where people are. And it's even scarier than that. We have a system called Rapid SOS that when you call 911 because you hit a deer out on the back roads around here, I don't know, I'm out on this back road somewhere. We can actually dial in, look on the map and see the addresses that you're actually in between and pinpoint where you are. So technology has really grown over the last 10, 20 years. And now we're into the phases of what we call next gen 911, which continues to evolve every day. This is now becoming our new standard in call receiving. This is where you get text to 911. This is where the video to 911 starts coming into play. So we can actually see multimedia exchanges with 911 calls, improve data integration between agencies, sharing information, and meet the demands of the modern communication. And eventually in the next 5 years, we'll probably be looking at satellite when it comes to call taking. Some roles. So people ask, what does a emergency communications officer do? Emergency communications officer back in the 60s was classified as a secretary and still to this date is classified as a secretary with the OMB. We've worked for 20 years to try and get them to reclassify it and still to this day continue to work with the national government to do that. They're professionals who answer the call. They're the first responders. They are the first ones to take your information, and then we feed that information to police, fire, and EMS. They're the voice behind the scene. They're the face you'll probably never see. At least my people, you won't see their face because they don't like to show them. Most don't. They are people that work in high stress situations that have to work outside the box to figure out your worst time of your day. In average, every person will call out 911 once in their lifetime. And with that one time they call, they talk to us, and it's our job to make sure that we do everything we can to take care of them. So the importance of 911 today, of course, it's the primary access point across the United States. Over 240 million 911 calls annually in the United States. We're part of the Homeland Security disaster response, as we saw last week. In the first 2 hours of the storm last week, the dispatch center took 71 calls, which is about a day's worth of calls in 2 hours. They were hopping. There was 3 of them on duty, 2 of them with less than 6 months experience. And they were great. I was at home. I was helping by putting out rave messages, watching what was going on and anything they needed, but they didn't need me. So it was wonderful to watch them work and take care of things. And they are always evolving into new demands and new practices. Now, Gratiot County in 1994, this is what I found. The villages of Barrington, Ashley, Breckenridge, the cities of Alma, Ithaca, and St. Louis entered into an agreement to develop what is called the Gratiot County Central Dispatch Authority. This was under the Emergency Telephone Enabling Act of 1986, number 32. And what it did is it took those individual areas that we had the 10-digit or even 9-digit or the 911 lines and centrally located them at the sheriff's department, a closet apparently.
Still there, right?
Small little room.
Yeah.
So, and
Took an act of Congress to get it torn out of there because
yeah,
had for 5 years.
yep.
So.
Yep. And then in 2005, they established the Gratiot County Dispatch Authority on March 15th. They took a dispatcher who was there, Mr. Mark Duflo, and he was the director, where he would be the director and employee till today, which is almost 40 years later. He still works part-time for us. As you can see in the slide here, that's Mark. That's Mark outside his building. I think my first year here, he wanted to retire so bad when I got hired. I said, "Can you stay for just a little bit? Help me out." And he did. But I thought it was right to name the building after him for all the accomplishments that he did in this county for 911 over the years and continues to do today. So now we fast forward to 2023. That's when the board decided to hire me. I'm not sure if they made the right choice. We'll see. But I came in, I had 30 years of public safety experience in communications mainly. There was some items that were going on, some things that needed to be worked on. So we did a needs assessment right away. Found our staffing was not where it needed to be. There was only actually 4 full-time people when I started. The other couple had been part-time and then some had left. So they were working extremely long hours. The morale was very low. We needed to hire at least 3 people right away, get them trained. Training takes approximately 3 to 4 months to get them up and on their own. So we quickly did that. They learned our systems. I also jumped in. To this day, I dispatch the way they do. I take all the classes they do. I'm certified the same way as they are and recognized the same way as they are as well. I don't ask them to do anything that they shouldn't, that I wouldn't do. And I also did it so I could really leave the overtime and give them a life back. Some are working 7 days in a row, 12-hour days, and it was really hitting them. The technology was behind, even though we were using some web-based products, they weren't sufficient. The CAD had already been there for 5 years, not expanding on its roles. There was no AVL system in the CAD. We had a separate one. We still do today. That's where we watch the police cars. Different programs to do the job. So we know we needed to upgrade that, streamline it, get the tools necessary for the dispatch centers to do what they needed to. Financially, the funds were drying up. Up until 2024, we were strictly surcharge, which means the $3 surcharge on your phone bill. That was great in the 80s when everybody had a landline. In the 90s, when the landline went away, so did the $3. So now it's just based on cell phones. And now we have to chase cell phone carriers around to make sure that they're paying us properly. There was no funds to improve the technology and infrastructure needed to be done on the technology and other needs. Like I said, for staffing, loss of employees, morale, we hired 3 quickly. We got them up and running. Took about 4 months. As of today, we are at 11 of 12 for staffing full-time, which is outrageous in any 911 center, being that close to full-time. We are actually going to be doing interviews on the 28th of this month to hire that 12th person. With that, there'll be 3 people on a shift 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will allow them to take a break. Right now, they eat at their desk. They got to go to the bathroom, they run and come back. The phone rings. They don't go outside. They don't go get lunch. They don't do any of that. They're at their seat for the 12 hours. So it's going to be good to have that happen. When somebody calls in for sick call, we don't necessarily have to replace them. So on the financial part, we're going to lower our overtime costs, which has been a huge budget hitter over the years. And as of today, we finally have everybody compliant as to the state of Michigan guidelines. They're all designated employees. They're doing their continuing educations every 2 years like they're supposed to. And as well as taking continuing educations online and going to conferences and classes. Technology, you can see here, the building was 20 years old, almost 20 years old when I got here, and nothing had changed. The first, in the middle of the slide, you can see a picture. That was the old center. That's the furniture that was in there at the beginning. And it no longer went up and down. Doors were broken off, shelving was busted. It wasn't functioning in a proper way for us to do our jobs. So the picture to the right is the new system, the new center. We've now expanded to 4 positions. They have the room that they need, the storage that we need to do their jobs in the right way. They're all new heavy duty built emergency dispatching desks. The CAD needs to be replaced. We're currently in our RFP process for that. We'll be opening those bids on May 4th with an expectation of that being in place early 2028. Radio issues. This is probably the biggest thing. That monster tower on the left there, 310-foot radio, 800 megahertz tower. The areas of Elma and St. Louis in the northwest and northeast quadrants of the county had terrible radio coverage. And it needed to be fixed. Elma and St. Louis, Elma especially, lives in a hole. So they couldn't get out even on the street. They were bombed.
River Valley.
Huh?
River Valley.
A valley.
You don't like it referred to as a whole.
Okay, a valley.
I've been corrected on that.
No, I've been corrected on it now. I'll never call it a hole again. It's a valley. It's a valley of no transmission. So we had to do something about that. I engaged Motorola, I engaged the board. We did a study to find out where our problem was, where we could fix it. The solution was you need a new tower, or you need a tower.
A tower.
A tower. We didn't have any towers in this county. We had antennas, but no towers. So we got approval. Mr. Mike Pung, who is a philanthropist, I can't say it, but businessman in the north end or in the county. He had a piece of land. He said, I'll lease it to you, and gave us a nice lease on it for the next 60 years on his property up right by 127 on a high point. It's exactly what we needed. With that tower today, as of March 24th, when we went in live on that day, the communication has gotten extremely better in Elma, St. Louis, and the northwest, northeast quadrants, according to those that use it. Our bonking is very limited, if at all. They've used it in basements, in the buildings, in the hospital, on their radios, which before they couldn't. So it has improved greatly. And it's the first tower in the state built with all the new equipment. So the new, most up-to-date digital products are in this tower. They're not even approved by the state yet, but they will be soon. Oh, well, if not, then Motorola and the state are gonna take it out. I don't know. So how did we do it? Remember I said our finances were. Our financial, when I got here, was sleek and slim. I came to you, I asked for millage, 0.6 mil for 6 years, with the intentions of taking care of these items. It was heavily approved. The did a lot of street thumping, a lot of farmers markets, a lot of social media, a lot of things out there in the community to get them to know what it was for. The major thing was, of course, the tower. And today it's put us back right, I would say, on the right path to being financially stable as we move forward. But that was thanks to the citizens of Gratiot County. What else do we do? We've implemented some community outreach programs. Strong initiative. I'm a community person. I like us to be out in the community. We visit schools, we visit fairs. One of the things you can see here, been at some football games. I went and talked to a third grade class about weather. We were just at the career health fair in Ashley with a couple of people. We're out there promoting our message. Call 911. Don't call the 10-digit number. Call 911. The 10-digit number is not for emergencies. The 10-digit number is for vendors to call and bother me. So call 911 for anything you need. We've introduced into different organizations with the health department, emergency management, the collaborative group, and we work with them to get our message out and to put their messages out as well. Community programs. We've seen a lot of this over the last week or so. The RAVE program. RAVE is by Motorola. They have different parts of it. We're heavily invested in RAVE, and because it works. The RAVE emergency alerts and notification is how you get the alerts that there's a tornado coming, that there's a bad accident, that there's a large fire, to stay away from certain areas, or certain roads are closed for some reason. We can put out alerts to, right now we're at 13,000 people on the RAVE alert system, which when I got here, I think was at like 2,300 or so. So we've grown huge on that. It's free. And all you have to do is text GC 911 to 67283, and it automatically logs you into the program, and you start getting texts. The RAVE facility works the same way. It's for businesses. Again, it's free. It's for them to build a smart 911 profile for their business. They go in, they fill out whatever they want to fill out. Key holders, alarm companies. In case of emergencies, contacts, floor plans, all of that information can go in there. And then what happens when they call 911? All that populates for us to see. And we can share that information out. This is also done with the schools. All the schools have been mapped out. We have maps of all the school floor plans with everything in them. And when we get an emergency, we can have that plan right in front of us. We can share that with the responders going to it. And they also have it in their cars on offline remarks and folders. Smart 911. That's been around for a long time. This is your personal profile for your house. I encourage everybody to do this. You call 911 from your home with the number that you have listed, all your information pops up, your medical history, your medications, people that live in your house, pictures of your cat, your dog, your iguanas, the cars that are there, the license plates, who should be there in case of emergencies. All sorts of information is stored in there. So when you call 911, pops up. The nice thing about Smart 911 is if you go to another area that has Smart 911, your information will pop up there too. So it travels along with you. And then our last one is the Gratiot Safe app. This is something that came online in November. The Gratiot Safe app, again, free. The alert notification program is in it. And it is full of resources. 211, Gratiot Integrated Health, all the police departments, fire department sites, the board of commissioners, the county administration site. It has links to get people to where they need to be so they can find the resources that they need and they don't have to call 911. They have it all at their fingertips the whole time. It has 988, it has 211, it has what 3 words. It even has the okay to say that they use at the kid level for MSP. All of that's in there. The last couple pages are different because I didn't read right. But these are our yearly statistics for the last 4 years. In 2022, the amount of calls that came into the center was 41,409 calls. That's administrative and 911. 2023, 44,865, and they're broken down by the month for you. 2024, 43,266. And then last year really spiked. 51,649 calls came in through the center. So it was a busy summer last summer. We were over 4,000, close to 5,000 each month in the summertime last year. So, but we're currently working on more projects. We're working on encryption for the police, as the FBI decided that they're going to mandate that by October. So that's been a fun project. We are working on testing our paging system for our fire services. The VHF system that we currently have has outlived its life. So we're looking at 800 paging for that as we move forward with that. Other than that, any questions for me?
The new tower that we built, due to its proximity to like our neighbor to the north, are they able to use that, anything at this time or not?
Their radios will connect to it if they're close enough.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. I didn't know if they had asked to piggyback it, because I know,
No.
like,
But what it does is the radio will connect to the closest tower and you can go one county away.
Okay.
Other than that, you can't have statewide coverage.
yeah,
So it will connect if they're down here. So they have better reception.
because I know that was not their best area of, especially to the west side of their county. They had kind of the same problems we had, so.
Yeah, they put their tower right at the state police post where their other tower was.
Yeah. So,
But yeah,
So Dave, is that tower only exclusively to our system or are there other systems
so
running through it? How does that work?
the tower is on the MPSCS system, which is the statewide 800 megahertz radio system. So it's tied in with the other 300 and some towers
Okay,
for the radios for
for all
police
these connect, in other words.
EMS. So they're all interactive. Since it's been up, I've had some requests for co-location, which means other agencies want to put their stuff on our tower. It's an accepted practice. We own the tower. It can be used in that sense. I've had an internet provider, our ham radio or our auxiliary radio people want to move their stuff from Alma over to there.
That makes sense.
Yep. And the Alma Transit wants to put their repeater there to help with their transmission around the county.
Yeah.
So I was on the call with the state today and working that side of it and starting to do that. I'm waiting for T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T to knock on the door. Once they find it's there, they will want to put stuff on it. So, but there are stipulations that have to go with it and we'll make sure that they follow those. They'll have to pay to be on it. So,
Well, it could be an enterprise fund for you to help offset the cost of the tower.
yes, it could be.
how is the radio reception, like the other abyss is down there where I live? Is
It's
it,
pretty decent down there.
Okay.
Nice, it's flat.
yeah, I know the state land area gets a little hairy just because of the amount of
With all
foliage and trees and that sort of thing, so.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of problems in the south.
I was actually wondering if this actually improved because it takes some of the load off of your tower, your antennas you had, because now you have.
Now we have a full service
Yeah.
tower in the county that's actually provided. And that's gonna make it better for our paging when we go to the fire side of it.
Mhm.
It'll help a little bit with that as well. So,
I know when the bad wreck happened out on 57 between Osborne and Ferris, day after Christmas, there was a fatality with the tanker truck. There was an issue with Montcalm because Carson City Fire covers 2 of the townships over there. Have we been able to figure out so they can communicate?
they always can communicate and,
For that night,
well,
they could hear it, but they couldn't communicate back.
they're on
Different system, I
a
know.
different system.
Yeah.
We actually page them directly.
Nope.
We don't call Montcalm anymore. We used to call them and say, hey, page them, that's a delay. Just like we do for Maple Rapids, we page them directly. The other process is, I believe with that one is they tried to page it out the same way we page everybody else out, which is not how it should be. Because we simulcast our paging goes over the VHF and the 800 at the same time. That one doesn't. Carson City, just hit Carson City and send it to them because they're not in the silence.
Yeah, okay. I know there was some sort of a hiccup that it didn't really end up being a delay because there was a few guys that were able to sneak in that way.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't communicate. They were having to then talk to mock comms dispatch and have mock
Yeah.
relay the messages back.
Sometimes they get a little freaked out when they haven't.
Yeah.
We do have redundancies in almost everything we do. And in our fire paging, we had active 911. We now have what's called I am responding, which is on their cell phones. So even though it comes across their pagers and radios, it also comes directly to their cell phones. So that's always been there. I am responding is a little bit more robust of a program, offers a lot more information. And we're working on that tweak right now.
Excellent.
No, thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Next up, consideration to appoint a board member to the Gratiot County Planning Commission.
So I have placed in front of you an application that I just received yesterday for Ronald Turner. I think because we mentioned that there was a seat that was open at the last meeting, I did receive, Art had given me his application for the Planning Commission. If you do take into consideration Ron's application, I would like you to also take into consideration Yvette Clark. She had emailed me about the Planning Commission seat, and I told her that I already had one applicant. And we did have a zoning board of appeals that was empty, and she had already been on that at one time. So she said that she would be fine with that, but her first inquiry was for the planning commission. So if you guys would take into consideration the three applicants, we've got Art, Yvette, and Ronald to consider.
I'd like to make a motion to elect Art since he's come both times, which shows that he has a big interest in it. So I'd like to nominate Art.
Moved by Jan, supported by George to nominate Art. All those for the Planning Commission.
This is resolution
Could-
1-2, right?
1-2.
412.
We could approve 4-1.
Yep. You want to amend it, Jan, to just approve
Yeah.
this resolution that already has his name
Yes,
in it?
which is that was 412
412 26412.
26241.
No, 26412.
Whatever Steve says. I think a roll call should be done too.
Roll call.
Okay, give me just a second. Commissioner Sapsi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes,
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
and also thank you, Art, for coming each time.
Okay, next up, consideration to approve resolution 413 to appoint a member to the zoning board of appeals. Yvette Clark.
Yes.
You looking for a motion?
Yep.
And I'll make the motion that we put Yvette Clark on zoning board of appeals. And that would be 26-413.
Motion by Jan, supported by George, to adopt resolution number 26-413 and put Yvette Clark on the zoning board of appeals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next up, consideration of claims. Talk on that, Tim? Todd, okay.
I'm gonna do it. When you see claims, that's money, that money man's gotta get up.
Oh, okay.
Time for time. There you go. Been waiting patiently out there for this.
Always patiently. So just from last month, when changed the policy, you have a couple of different reports. One is check that we have issued since the last meeting. And that one is in here. The total of that for the month, $527,738. The details there that were sent out earlier. Likewise, the other report is invoices, waiting for your approval for AP to release those payments come tomorrow. Total of those claims, $329,576. And the detail is there for you guys to take, hopefully you've looked at.
This takes away, this new format takes away so many questions. It's awesome. Because you can actually read it and go, that's what that's for. No
Good.
more mystery of lumping 6 things together and wondering why, we're paying an exorbitant amount for. There was a couple of times where the animal control was the first thing entered, so it was the only thing that read on there, and you're spending $50,000 on gas. You're like, what? That or the drain commission, it always seemed like they were like the first ones in and there was some absorbent amount. So this is wonderful because it's like so easy to follow. So
I
thank you.
agree too.
I know it's a lot, probably more work, but it's a lot easier for me to read. Much easier for me to understand it.
Will you make a motion?
I so move that we settle the claims.
I'll second it.
Moved by
New
Steve,
name.
supported by Jan to pay the bills essentially. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-414 to approve budget procedures policy.
You do have a copy of that actual policy that I handed out, the newly formatted one. But you'll notice, if you read the old policy, this one is less than half the length because of the redundancy that was in there. There's also a large section that was deleted. That's a section that allowed automatically for a case where a new budget had not been adopted in time for the new budget year, that automatically a continuation budget was adopted that equaled 1/12 of the current year's budget. Fortunately, that lacked legislative authorization to do. So rather than do something illegal, it's just been taken right out of the policy. So we won't deal with that. And if we ever do get down to the wire and don't have a budget on October 1, we do not operate until we get one, and that's your incentive to have a budget approved. Literally, that's it. So that I don't ever anticipate happening. But, that's what happens just in case. So the resolution would approve this draft in this format. It is, I think, a pretty good template, just to refer to. Obviously, when we get into it, you'll get all sorts of details about budgets and things that we might need to do.
It's nice to see them all cleaned up and following state statute and what have you is wonderful. I so move that we approve resolution number 26414, budget procedures policy.
Support.
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to approve resolution 26-414 to approve budget procedures policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-415 to approve budget transfers policy.
This policy reflects day-to-day activities primarily in the departments and does put in writing the authorization of department heads to move funds within certain departments, rather within certain line items of an approved budget. At no time does a department head get to move monies around in such a way that adds money to the allocation that you've approved. So no matter what, that bottom line remains the same. But if there is a conference, maybe a department would like to attend and they have leftover money, if you will, in the office supplies, they're able to move that money around within their budget to accommodate that.
Looks really good when I read through it. It's short, concise. I don't think anybody have any trouble about it. I so move that we approve resolution 26415, approve budget transfer policy.
Or
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to approve resolution 26-415 to approve budget transfers policy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Moving on, consideration to approve resolution 26-416 to approve enhanced access to public records policy.
That's the second policy that was at the table for you tonight. The only changes here are to grammar and punctuation. All of the text is essentially the same. It does track with a statute that sets aside primarily databases that we work with. So if we were to have a request for all of the property records that we maintain, we can certainly provide that, but you as a board are authorized to set a fee for that, which you've already done. That is separate from what we would charge under Freedom of Information Act. You're actually being able to recoup some of the cost of putting the data in rather than the printout, which would literally be pennies on the dollar. So that's important. Also with things like the mapping data, we do get requests for that from time to time. And that was an expensive database to build. The legislature recognized that and said, well, that's different than FOIA. It's enhanced data. You should be able to recoup that if somebody needs it for private purposes. And believe it or not, we do sell a few of those every year.
I so move to approve resolution 26416, enhanced access to public records policy.
I'll second it.
Moved by Steve, supported by Jan, to approve resolution 26-416 to approve enhanced access to public records. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-417 to approve Freedom of Information Act policy.
This is a rewrite of the FOIA policy that we had, but one that has been revised to incorporate the changes that were made. I say recently, but for me, 10 years ago was recently. It was right about 10 years ago when that policy was overhauled by the state. And so this policy is now consistent with that. We don't have any conflicts with what that statute tells us we need to do.
So move that we approve resolution 26-417, the Freedom of Information Act policy.
support.
By Steve, supported by Tim, to approve resolution 26-417 to approve the Freedom of Information Act policy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-418 to repeal obsolete policy. Obsolete.
So if ever you get a complaint about all these policies we have, now you have a resolution in front of you that says we're getting rid of a few. These three policies, obsolete probably is a kind word. The equalization data processing policy was at least 30 years old and no longer consistent with what the state statutes say about equalization and how we go about that process. I was able to do that with Keegan, and literally every line in that policy had to be changed. All it did was restate what the statute tells Keegan he has to do as part of his job. So rather than creating confusion, that policy would simply be deleted from our set. The second one was a voicemail and email policy. This was particularly, I think, important just as, well, email in particular, but voicemails were becoming more commonplace in the office again, 30 to 40 years ago when these things were happening. The email policy primarily was an alert to all of our email users, letting them know that anything that we put out in email, anything we transmit is subject to FOIA and released publicly. That's important to remember, but we also have a standalone IT policy where this would be included. All of this information has been forwarded to Matt. He's reviewing it. And his suggestion, combining these so that they were all in the same place, we didn't have to go hunting for them. So that policy can be removed. And then finally, the emergency expenditures policy. I think it was stated at our past meeting that this is one that maybe was born out of COVID. It is redundant with our new purchasing policy that was passed a couple of months ago. We do address emergency expenditures in there, so there's no need to have a standalone policy dealing with that.
So move that we approve resolution 26418, repeal of obsolete policies.
I'll say that. Oh, go ahead.
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to approve resolution 26-418 to repeal obsolete policies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Wish the state would do that.
Wish they'd obsolete themselves.
Consideration to approve resolution 26-419 to accept a quote for web-based time and attendance systems.
I draw your attention to the substitute resolution. It's out there, substitute for the 419 resolution that's in the packet and online. I was able to speak directly to the vendor today, Andrews Technology. This is the system that will automate our payroll system. So employees will log in and log out each day and will record their time off. And all of that data will be automatically captured by payroll individual. It will all be directly imported into the BS&A system and populate the salaries and wages to the proper departments where they belong, and will do so calculating all overtime correctly and consistent with the Fair Labor Standards Act, and will take into account any other premium pay that we have out there. For instance, our deputies will receive premium pay for working holidays that will automatically be calculated. I can't say enough about this in the opportunity here for elimination of error that we have by keying everything in maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on what department you work for. We'll also eliminate the constant questioning that we do in our office about, are we calculating the overtime correctly? Because every time there's a premium pay added, that changes things. Every time somebody works overtime, that changes things. This will all happen automatically. Now, the reason for the substitute resolution is that I was speaking to the vendor. I did list on there on the second, be it resolved that you would authorize me to purchase certain accessories that go to the system. For instance, the time clocks. These are biometric time clocks that are keyed to a person's fingerprint. We could actually get one that would take a scan of the eyeball if we wanted that. I'm most familiar with the fingerprint. Literally, an hourly employee can walk in, put their finger on the machine, they're clocked in, they go about their business. Very simple. This is, I think, something that particularly in places like the jail that operate 24/7 and cannot be done remotely. Our corrections officers must be on site. This is a quick and easy way to get clocked in and go about your business. It also will include what they call their Wi-Fi package. We don't need to get into the walls and wire these things. It will automatically be logged into our network so that it goes to the system where it needs to go. There are other things in here, such as a battery backup, automated scheduling, which I think for departments like the sheriff, again, would be tremendous help, just in terms of keeping track of who's on what shift, making sure all the shifts are covered, and so on. It also will allow the employee to have their own dashboard to where they can not only log in if they want to at their workstation, but they can see how much accrued time off they have. It doesn't matter how it's classified, if it's sick time, personal time, PTO time, funeral leave, whatever it might be. They can see those accruals in real time and not have to guess whether or not I have enough time to take a few days off next week to vacation or whatever I want to do. It will be right there for them. It will also produce reports for our departments as needed, but more importantly, help produce the reports that we need from a payroll system to make sure everything is done. We have a grant, for instance, that pays for somebody's payroll. This will make sure that we know to the penny what that individual earned while working on that grant. Automates a lot of things. That price increases, though, that you see here now include those accessories. After my conversation this morning with the vendor, it is the same formula that all of the proposals had in them. They give us a base price for the software and maybe the annual fee. Oh, you want a time clock? Well, that's extra. So we've got all that now included in here. This is the maximum price. I'm not sure we're going to need all the accessories that we've quoted on here. So things that we don't, I'll be working with Todd and with Stephanie, and we will carve those things out and just simply not commit ourselves to buying them.
Okay, Angie's a department head or an elected, so she's a department head of the clerk's office. When she opens up let's say on her phone, she'll have access to all of her employees,
Yes.
being the department head? Okay, because then the sheriff will be able to do the same thing. That infamous Saturday, you're wondering who's working. He can check it on his cell phone and know. And all of the officers then know that there's, 5 guys working tomorrow. I say guys, 5 employees working tomorrow. I potentially could take tomorrow off. You can see that by that auto schedule thing in there. That's how you know that, I'm not trying to shortchange the shift, because that happens. You forget that the sheriff's not there and I want to take the day out or that day off too. There's no more of well, I didn't know. Well, yeah, you did. If you did your job, if you looked at your phone, you knew. So, okay, I just wanted to be sure these guys all see it. This is a dream come true to me we're joining the 21st century of time cards and schedule stuff.
So not only will they be able to see it, they'll be able to approve vacation requests right there on their phone. They'll be able to approve timesheets right there on their phone. So anything they can do at their desktop, they'll be able to do on that phone.
Can they send out requests for overtime from their phone?
Employees can send a request for overtime to the sheriff, or if the sheriff has delegated that to the undersheriff, wherever it needs to go. And then
They can do that also, like
can do that.
somebody called in sick or there's a death in someone's family, which causes that shortfall. It doesn't take going to the sheriff's department and stapling something to a board anymore.
It's like you're taking
overtime available. What's that?
It's just like taking the board with you.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Hallelujah. I so move that we approve resolution number 26419 to accept the quote for the web-based time and attendance system.
Or moved by Steve, supported by Tim, approve resolution 26-419 to accept a quote for the web-based time and attendance system. Let's have a roll call on that.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Next up, consideration to approve resolution 26-420 to restructure departments.
This is the work we've been doing to reorganize, restructure our community development department. The first thing we're doing right out of the gate is getting ourselves into compliance with our building inspections department and how those revenues are allocated. This structure will make sure that those revenues stay within the building inspection department and aren't necessarily shaved off to supervise any other departments. This will strictly be for building inspections. The other thing it does, and I think the driver for all of this, was to put ourselves in a position to better enforce the ordinances that are under our responsibility. We obviously have planning and zoning that we do, but we also recently taken on soil erosion control and also the blight enforcement. This will dedicate more resources to blight enforcement in particular. Not a huge amount, but we'll take a position that currently is designated as an independent contractor / employee. It will erase from our existence the problem that presents and substitute a full-time employee in that case. So yes, it is going to cost a little bit more money, but we are going to get consistent enforcement of these ordinances across the county. I know I'm looking forward to it. We'll sit down and perhaps as soon as tomorrow with the department and begin that process. The townships, I think, are going to appreciate this. In fact, one of the township supervisors called and talked to me a little bit about this morning. Very excited about the prospects that this is bringing, and that the ability, to finally have somebody dedicated to that will respond and will communicate, which will be part of our criteria, directed to the departments as well. So I think a good move forward. We'll kick this into gear now rather than waiting until October with the new budget.
I get it done soon enough as far as I'm concerned.
And for the townships also.
I so move that we approve resolution 26420, restructure of departments. Or
Moved by Steve, supported by George, to approve resolution 26-420 to restructure the departments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-422 to amend Gratiot County Commissioners' Rules of Organization.
This was the subject of the work session last week. And what you're seeing in front of you is not that marked up copy, but the clean copy. The new rules would look like.
get rid of all the pretty colors in it.
Yeah. So for the benefit of those listening, the board's rules of procedure will now double, 8 pages to 16, but it, I think, will help in terms of answering procedural questions when they come up at these board meetings. For instance, our language in there about what happens when a motion is tabled. What happens when we reconsider a motion? What if there are too many motions on the table? How do we get rid of them? So all of that put in here. Obviously, this is a fluid document, so as issues crop up, it can be amended, but I think this does a pretty decent job of taking the extra step. I would say that the prior rules were about 2/3 complete. You're now adding that final third to have that complete product in front of you. I think it'll be a tremendous help.
I think with this document now, I can take one of the books I bring to every meeting out of my bag, and so this will be I'll give a lot of you.
Robert's Rules of Order book or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might even leave that county 20-pound. Yeah, I might even leave that one at home, because I know there's one in his office if we need one. I so move that we approve resolution 26422, the amended Gratiot County Board of Commissioners Rules of Organization.
I'll second that.
Moved by Steve, supported by Jan, to approve resolution 26-422 to amend Gratiot County Board of Commissioners Rules of Organization. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. What happened to 421?
21.
We got 423. Yeah.
421, your late edition thing.
Skipped over it
Okay,
for later use.
okay.
Keeping that in our back pocket in case.
Right, in case you need it.
In case we need it.
I think what it is right now. But we did add resolution 423. The language for.
Is this your late one, 423?
The resolution 26-423 to amend the language in a special millage question for renewal and restoration of funding for the Gratiot County Commission on Aging.
What's those numbers again?
423.
2,
3. Yeah.
thanks.
This resolution was amended at the very end where it talks about a small portion of the millage may be captured by the downtown development authorities of the cities of Alma and St. Louis, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of Gratiot County. We inserted a period. The prior resolution also added Brownfield Redevelopment Authorities for the city of St. Louis, for the village of Ashley, and for the township of Elba. The only problem there is they don't exist. So they're removed here. I think the mistake was there were projects in each of those communities that fell under the Gratiot County Brownfield Development Authority. And the individual who crafted the resolution thought, oh, those are independent brownfield authorities, so we need to list them. We don't. They're all under the Gratiot County umbrella. this corrects it. I was telling the clerk before the meeting, we probably could get away without correcting this for the deadline. But it's one of those things you best not take a chance on because you would hate to get to.
If you know it, correct it.
Yeah.
It's just this time, because otherwise we could be in December and realize we're mistaken to collect the millage, and that's a whole new set of challenges.
What did you know and when did you know it?
Yeah.
Question will come up.
George, this is your bailiwick. the
Yeah.
Function on Aging, so.
All right, I would move that we adopt resolution, what was it?
2-3.
423. Resolution to amend language in the special millage question for renewal and restoration of funding for Gratiot County Commission on Aging.
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Tim. To adopt a resolution to amend the language in the special millage question for renewal and restoration of funding for the Gratiot County Commission on Aging. Should that be a roll call?
Say it is.
I would not discount it, you know, the millage question. Let's just put a stamp on it.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Okay. Oh, we gotta go out of this meeting to go into the airport meeting.
Unfinished business. Well, I move to, consideration to enter the airport meeting. Or,
Second it. Oh, it's part of it.
sorry.
Okay. Moved by Tim, supported by George to go into the airport meeting. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay.
Minister.
I think in your packet there, I had my normal airport, manager's report, for the month of March. Um, um, Basically, when you look at, some of the statistics, we still are 7 days, when you look at the number of days don't sell fuel, so we're usually tied to weather. And so far through March, we got 7 more days of bad weather compared to last year at the same time. Jet A fuel, we're down 1,600 gallons compared to a year ago. We didn't sell any Jet A in March. But we sold about 1,600 gallons so far in April. On the other side, about 100 low lead, we're 1,300 gallons ahead of last year, the same time frame. And we're about 48 transactions ahead on the 100 low lead compared to the year at the same time. Some of that is we had some nice days and we had a lot of activity on those nice days. Planes coming in between the bad weather and stuff. I think March probably we had a little bit of snow, different things. We've had some issues with our PAPI lights, which are those precision lights at the end of runways. They've been out for quite a while. We did end up, I did take them down in February to Columbus, the main circuit boards, and took them down to the company that made that equipment. And they tested them, and I went back down on March 20th and picked those up. We're still having some issues. We installed the boards back in, still burning out lights, so we're probably gonna have to bring in an electrical company to check them over and figure out what's going on. Could be some other bad boards in the individual lights. There's 4 at each end of the runways, and but the main circuit boards, they made some adjustments to that and changed some stuff out. But it hasn't really, it hasn't helped with what we have. So that'll be something we'll have to get addressed.
Those happy lights are been in there about 15 years. Normally you replace stuff at 20 years. The new AED lights, LED lights are now available for happy lights. And when I was down there, the company said that later this year, they're gonna show these happy lights as multi-support them. So it'll be something we'll have to figure out going forward here, what we're gonna do with it. Again, it provides a slope as airplanes come in, if they're too high or too low, different lights will show as they look at it. So it's kind of a safety issue thing. We've had trouble pretty much since COVID. We've had, but prior to that, we didn't have much. The bulbs keep running out. I don't know if the same bulbs we've always bought. Anyway, we've had a lot of issues with it. So that's going to be a upcoming thing. We'll have to try to figure out for how we either upgrade those or let's see here. In April here, we've had an advisory meeting, airport advisory meeting. At that meeting, we talked quite a bit about the state of Michigan has $5 million available for airports. So there's 4 different categories that we can apply for some grant money. We're in the process. Those applications have to be in by May 1. So we're looking at each and every one of those. There is a little bit of glitch for our particular airport on that, is that last year we got some money to help with the taxiways at the T hangars. They were supposed to replace that taxiway last August. We actually bid the stuff out in February or March of last year, but the funding didn't come through. We didn't get the funding stuff till October. Well, in October, you're not going to lay it. You're not going to tear up old like others. So we postponed that. We're trying to get a date here in August with the contractor that was the low bidder. But under this new grant request, they say if you have existing funds from the previous year, you can't apply for the new year or this new request. But I think we have a good reason why we didn't use the funds, because we didn't get the funding. And you don't want to start a project until you get the funding. So we're still planning to submit some requests. One of the requests that will be for the ramp area. We have bid on that already to fix the cracks in the ramp and recoat the ramp. It's been hasn't been recoated at least in the last 10, 12 years anyway. So it's and fixing the cracks has happened in the past. So and then when they did the crack seal last year, we had estimated, well, we had a report from the state of Michigan of how many feet of crack seal we had, and we upped it by 30%. And there was a program through the state of aeronautics for crack sealing, and they ran out of material before they could finish everything. So I think the last meeting we allocated $10,000 toward crack sealing. So we're going to try to see if we can get some of that money to fill cracks. And then we were looking at some other, there's one of the areas is equipment. We need certain equipment. We put some money in or applied for a grant last year for a tractor and brush hog equipment. We didn't get approved last year, but we're gonna submit a bid on that or submit a request on that. So the other ones are tied to maintenance and anything income generating. So we're looking at some different options and trying to get some bids. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I did talk to the engineering firm about our request for a new terminal. Because there was a grant request that we put in for the last 3 or 4 years for that. And we haven't decided, but he heard through the grapevine that the ones that they got recommended have been notified they got recommended. Well, I haven't heard anything, and I don't think anybody else at the airport. So we're probably not on the list to get a new terminal grant unless somebody backs out or something else happens. So, but they still haven't awarded that, and that was the requirements were that specs and everything had to be done by the end of July and bid. So unless they get them awarded here pretty quick, I don't know how anybody can meet that time requirement. So, anyway, so we did have to order Jet A. We were getting low on Jet A. Some of our crop dusting people was doing mosquito putting in Saginaw County. So they did provide some Jet A. So we had to order it. We upped our price. It went from $4.90 to $7.25. So, and that's only same spread or whatever. It's just the cost of Jet A.
That's cool.
We didn't order, normally, they require us to order 8,000 gallons, semi-load. But this time we were able to order just 4,000 gallons, because they had 8,000 going to Lansing. So price is the same, so we kind of lucked out there. Didn't want to order 8,000 gallons, and most of the crop dusting stuff that takes a lot of Jet A won't happen until July or August. So instead of spending a lot of money on fuel that would, and who knows, maybe it'll go down, maybe it'll go up. So we're kind of really hope, hedging on that. So probably in May, we're going to need some 100 low lead. So we'll look at what the pricing is at that time. We'll see if we're going to buy a semi-load or whether we try to split with another airport. We've in the past, certain vendors will split loads as long as they get a total semi and run. So luckily the one on the Jet A, we ordered it and it came the next day, but they took 12,000 gallons, dropped 8,000 off at Lansing and brought the other 4,000 to us. So that'll be coming up, the expenses and stuff. I don't know if there's any other questions about the stuff I submitted. The other thing, we got some, I think Tim just got some construction documents today for the taxiway that need to be signed by the chairman or authorized Tim to sign it. And we have a couple of hangar leases too that we talked about before. And the leases reviewed with the attorney and updated. So we got those prepared. So gentlemen or whatever could we sign those? Maybe.
I'll sign it.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, you're easy. Okay. Anything else? Do you have any questions or anything else?
You get your old tractor and brush hog going?
Oh, yeah, we got it going.
Yeah.
But one of the things we're putting in for is.
Yeah, new one.
That one.
Okay.
We'll see. We're gonna take pictures of it and do some other things, to kind of reinforce it. It's not a new one, we're replacing an old one from the 70s. So, anyway, so yeah, we did get that going. I think the last 6 days I've been doing is fighting water at the airport. We had some huge lakes there. There's a county drain that goes through there, but the county drains that go under the runways have grates on them to keep debris back. So we were scraping those grates about 3 times a day. But yesterday, it was still maybe 6 inches above the top of the 30-inch concrete culverts. But this morning it was a foot below. So once they got down below, and then the air, it's kind of like a bottle. We didn't keep them clean. wouldn't flow restricted, so. Yeah, we're overnight, a lot of water went away, so we got below that, so move quicker and stuff. But it's only restricted so far because it goes down the county drain, and it's up in Alma, and the dam holds so much water back, so. If that dam was a couple inches lower, we'd probably hardly have much of our pitch, so. We do have a lot of private drains at the airport, when it was built in the late sixties. Tiling wasn't, something that a lot of people did, so there's a lot of private drains. We probably have, I don't know, at least a couple miles of private drains that, they haven't been dug out forever. And we have a lot of water still sitting, because we have a lot of heavy ground, but we also have a lot of sand. So the water table can be very hot and it won't move away until it dries out in the heavy ground. Sand, the ditches get lower, starts to bring the water out through the ditch, sandy. Our automatic weather station and our, where we have our semicircle, where we have wing sod, all that was underwater. For like 5 days. So went away the last 2 days or so. Yeah, so never seen that much water. And even the areas where we put in new catch basins in between the taxiway and the end of runway 27, we had water all the way up to the taxiway. And there's 4 catch basins there, but a lot of rain. I'm not sure how much we got at the airport. It's a lot. You can see it around the county. There's a lot of opportunities. All right, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we need to go into the,
I moved to go into the finance. Or
by Tim, supported by George, to enter into the finance meeting. Not Todd again.
Give me again. So it looks like in your packet, I failed to send Angie the cash balances, so I apologize. But I did it last week before the weekend came along, but I can give you quick numbers. General fund, we're sitting at 8.8 million into March. Liquid tax fund, we're now about 9.2. So in comparison to the prior year, both of them about $500,000 each, greater than the prior year. So cash wise, we're sitting pretty nice in that respect. The other portion that you have in there is just profit and loss statement through the end of March. Remember, March is 50% of the year is completed, so 6 months of the year is gone. So telltale sign is looking at that budget used. We should be right around that 50% mark. If expenses are greater than that, we're monitoring those. Some are just timing issues. Overall, when you look at the last page, we're at that slightly shy of 40% of both revenue and expense. So we're looking good so far. But on an ongoing basis, with some of the approvals tonight, we'll have some budget amendments for next month. But right now, we're still looking pretty decent and good shape. So.
Well, you got any questions, you're all set. Now you can go to your other meeting.
The seat for Dave.
How about the treasurer? How about that treasurer?
Okay. Same reports. Investments, doing well. It's gonna change. We've been spending some money this month. We have concluded settlement, so you're gonna see that next month on my investment reports. But we concluded settlement and moving into foreclosure time, so.
Does it look hot this year?
Settlement,
You got some general thoughts of what the foreclosures are gonna be this year?
yeah, we have 12 this year, which last year we had 30.
Yeah.
So it's We're back to normal on the numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that land or is that property or is that?
That's both. I haven't been out and done my usual survey yet this year, probably the first week of May. I'll go do that. But yeah, according to what I see on the legals and the descriptions, it's both. Yeah.
Any businesses?
No, I don't think so. Did you say? No, I didn't think so. Oh, so, but it's better than it was last year. Again, last year was just an odd year because of the amount that we had. We have normal.
You said 30, did all of them, none of them were able to raise the money or?
Correct.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was a really abnormal year. And there were businesses in last year. And bank transfers haven't changed much along with the receivables. Anybody have any questions on any of those? Silence means no. Okay, thank you.
Go.
Thank you. Well, you didn't have anything?
No, tonight, Tim, you can go back to our regular meeting, but not have to worry about paying the bills. We already did. And from now on, we won't have to do this one.
We have.
Well,
Cost that everybody pays every month.
I make a motion to adjourn from the
Okay,
finance and go to the regular meeting.
There you go, bud. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll come.
I support that.
Moved by Jim, supported by George to leave the finance meeting and go back into the regular meeting for the purpose of public comment. Any public comment? Any board comments?
I do have a question, but it's really for Tim here. In almost every one of our departments, we have an indirect cost. And yet I don't see it where, I can see them, their line items that they have an indirect cost. So how is that taken out and where does that go? Why is there indirect? Why not just put it all in the general fund? And then just take it out?
I'm not sure exactly where you're speaking to this, and Todd might be able to help us with that. Any expense that's reported in our general ledger, it has a line item tied to it, whether that's a direct expense, indirect expense, whatever you might want to call it. There's a line item specifically that we can track it back to. Now, indirect, and just I'm talking generally, because I'm not exactly sure which section you're referring to. But we can group some of those, like we'll group, for instance, personnel costs all in one big number, so you can see the overall. But understand that when we start talking about like wages, and that's tied to an individual in a department, and we can trace it all the way back to that individual. So I think that's really sometimes a title of convenience, just to group a lot of things into, just to show you in general where the budget is versus the very specific level that we get to.
Okay, what I didn't understand, and this has been a few years back, never got an answer on it, is that you have the 911 that was paying $66,000 for indirect costs. But you had, and they only had like at the time, working. Then you had the sheriff's office that has 30, 40 people, and their indirect cost was 25,000. So why is there a difference, and why not just put it all together and just use it? I don't know, I guess I wonder why you have this direct cost, because everybody gets a certain weight, and that money.
Third party that we use to calculate what our indirect cost allocation is. So that's where it's derived. And the reason why you use indirect costs, because HR, finance, administration, we're doing services for the whole county. So it includes some of these that are not part of the general fund, but it could be road commission, drain commission. They're all paying portions of the share to help fund that overhead. Because we're overhead. And likewise, it goes back to, there are some other areas that the most part of those departments or cost centers are grant dollars. They get a share of the indirect costs too. So it covers our time for doing HR, the payroll, AP, anything related to that, let where indirect costs come from. But then there's a third party do that calculation. We have, we utilize that to determine what each respectable area is gonna get expense.
See, everybody gets a wage. If everybody gets a wage, why does the end, I mean, I can understand why you have indirect costs. Why doesn't the indirect cost come out and just go into a, wonder, general, general money, or I forget what it's called now right offhand, but I mean, it goes in, well, general, yeah, the general money that's, I mean, it's coming, actually, is it when you, every month, do you take so much out of each one of those, like say 911 or Commission on Aging was another one?
Every month there's an entry and they get hit with the expense and there's a general fund revenue for that corresponding amount. So it happens on a monthly basis.
So it automatically comes out every month.
Yes,
So where does it go?
into the general fund.
Oh, it does go in the general fund.
See, these people, I think you understand, like Commission on Aging. We do their finances for them.
Yeah.
We don't do it for free. Administration then charges back, and that's where your indirect costs come from. We do, all our direct costs are all of our county right here. If you're outside, like Commission on Aging, we do their book work, but there's a cost to that. That's called indirect cost, and that's paid by Commission on Aging back to the county. So you have to track that. It goes back in the general fund, but you have to track that.
So do you end up with money at the end, or like, do you take, like, say, Commission on Aging has $100,000 and let's say like the sheriff's office only has $50,000. So actually the sheriff's office has more employees than what the Commission on Aging does. So how do you tell that, like, say at the end of the year, is there money left over from the indirect cost, or do you just take that amount and divide it by how many people you're writing checks to?
Depends on what the third party company that we use to calculate the indirect cost. And not everything, the cost driver might not be employees for all, it could be something else. You know, it could be square footage, whatever it may be, or a combination of all. So you can't just look at it straight up, number of employees, thinking that is the telltale sign for the indirect cost allocation. And that's not going to be accurate for everything.
So what you're saying, you have a formula for each one of these.
The third party that
Yep.
you contract with to do this, yes.
Okay, and is each one of their formulas different, or is it by a certain percentage for each one?
Like I said, it just depends on what area we're looking at. The cost driver might be different. It could be personnel, it could be, like I said, square footage, whatever.
Depending on if they're renting space from you and that type of thing. Okay, I've always wondered that.
Yeah, they did a study years ago, Jan.
Huh?
They did a study years ago, this company did, and that's when it started. And it pays for things like my office, it pays for Angie's office, it pays, you know, these different funds that use our stuff. That's what they're paying for. That's what it's.
So it's not just payroll, it's for
No,
other stuff.
Other things, sure.
It's a lot of different things.
Oh, I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, you guys.
Excellent.
I support that.
By Tim, supported by George to adjourn, meeting adjourned.
Where?
Here.